long as I can remember, I always loved to draw. And my mom always encouraged me to make art. In fact, she still does. My mom's dad, Bob McGee, was also an inspiration. He knew how to do a drawing of Popeye by heart. My grandpa was diagnosed with cancer and passed away in October of 1981. I was 14 years old. The loss of my grandpa hit me pretty hard. So my mom decided to uplift my spirits and sign me up for a painting workshop with Charles Mavalli in late October of 1981. Charlie made painting look so easy, I thought it would be a cinch. My first plein air oil painting was a disaster. I was so mad at myself, so I decided at the age of 14 to spend the rest of my life to try to get better at this. In 1982, my first journey to Gloucester was spent painting with Bernie Gerstner, John Wagner, Don Grieger, who was my neighbor in Western New York and good friends with Charlie, and of course, Charlie himself. The first plein air painting I ever did in Gloucester was done in summer of 1982. It was from Blickford Way in Rocky Neck looking north. I was only 15 years old. As I grew older, I painted more and more. I traveled to New England several times for plein air road trips. And of course, I went back to Gloucester a few times back in the mid-90s. But most of the artists had gone. I would chat with Charlie on the phone a few times, but we could never find time to paint with each other. I got married in 1998, and the logistics of plein air painting are tough when raising a family, so I spent most of those years in the studio. After a while, I missed the old loose brushstrokes of plein air painting, so I dusted off my old groupie book and went back to my roots. I copied some of his paintings with some water-based tempera paint. I tried to capture that old brushwork again. I thought it might be nice to connect with Charles Mavalli again, so I tried reaching out to him on Facebook, but to no avail. After several times to try to contact him, I became discouraged. Did he even remember me? Maybe he moved? Maybe he got a new phone number. I really wanted to see him, until I Googled his name and his obituary came up. I miss Charlie, and I never got to say goodbye to him. I felt the need to reconnect, just for a sense of closure. So we packed up the car for a 5-hour drive and headed to Gloucester. I just wanted to get back. So in my ventures of October of 2016, I ran into these guys with their easels set up in East Gloucester. They had these lanyards, so I asked them if I could join in on their plein air event. They laughed and said, "No, you have to apply in March and get juried in. It's a competition." So that's when I met my friends for the first time, Eric Jacobson and Mitch Baird. So I practiced up for the year, even went back to Gloucester a few times. I went back to my old spot in Rocky Neck, the place where I had painted when I was 15 years old, and tried to do that scene again. Sure enough, that old boat was still there. October of 2017, I packed up my truck, headed off for that 5.5-hour drive up to Gloucester. And I got my name tag. And Mitch was there. And I sure did meet some interesting people.
Make sure I'm around Wednesday morning, say 9 o'clock. If you guys happen to come down, we'll come down. The boat will be here, and Maybe you even get to see my son be around.
Sounds good.
All right, we'll see you guys then.
I painted at the Crow's Nest, Pigeon Cove, and Good Harbor Bay, my old stomping grounds. It almost felt like I was back home again. But the greatest part of it all was my family was able to come out here and be with me. Even my mom. And in October of 2018, I packed up the truck and the journey started all over again. Got to see my friends Eric Jacobson, Pat Lee, Mitch Baird, Chad Smith, A great time was had by all. It was like a big reunion. Once again, I was confident that plein air painting was alive again in Gloucester. And so for the third year in a row, in October of 2019, packed up the truck again and got my ID badge and headed back up to Gloucester for another competition. Got to see some old friends, Tim Kelly, Mitch Baird, and I finally got to meet my good friend Jonathan McPhillips. We all painted at Bass Rocks together. Even went back to the Crow's Nest for another interior during a Patriots game. And now the year is 2020. With the pandemic, things are different. Even the way I teach is different. But that's okay. We still find a way to spend time with each other. We can still paint. We can still laugh. And we can still be together. Tough times often bring about thoughts of reflection and nostalgia. 2020 made me think about my art journey and where I came from. So I decided to dig through some old photos from 40 years ago. Moving forward, we're all adapting and we'll all come out stronger through this. Plein air painting is once again alive and well in Cape Ann. So a special thanks to all of the Cape Ann plein air volunteers and housing hosts for making this event happen. And thank you, Charlie, for your inspiration. And thank you to my mom for your continued support. And thank you once again to all my friends. We'll be together again real soon.